Hi, my name is Melvin Wei. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's 2017, March 21st. That was day 0 of what I expected to hopefully be a new series. I grew these ginseng seeds. Now they're turquoise, and all the ones I've had in the past were sort of just a beige natural color. So I figured either these could go really wrong, or they could have been treated in such a way in which they have some kind of mold or fungal coating that's somehow beneficial. Either way, they were different, and I had failed in the past, so it was worth trying something new. If you dig back in my channel and go back, way back to 2014, I've been trying ginseng germination attempts ever since, and I posted some videos. I got some beige ones back in the day, and I soaked them in hydrogen peroxide. I kept them under a clamp lamp with reflector and light on most of the day, and that didn't go on very well. And of course, I was inexperienced back then, so I was just trying, whatever I thought would be interesting or might work at the time. And later on, I bought ginseng roots actually from a Korean supermarket. They were selling them for cheap, and they looked alive and well, so I tried to plant those. And I did so indoors because it was cooler indoors at the time, and they rotted. So here you can see I'm putting in way too much water. I had sterilized this potting mix by either baking or steaming, I believe. I think it might have been steaming. No, actually maybe it was by baking. So it's fairly dry coming out of the oven trays. And I wanted to make sure that with all these evaporation and condensation cycles, the seeds would not be dried out, because typically when you just let a container sealed sit there, you have all this condensation, water droplets on the walls of the plastic and on the inner side of the lid. So the hydration will be less in the potting mix or soil than you think it is in the initial phase. So sorry for this, it's just a cloudy day. The footage isn't too great. But I just wanted to get a quick and dirty start to my ginseng seed sowing and divide my seeds up between these two containers. I would put one in the shade. Hopefully it would do something and be cooler. It was cool back then in mid-March. And the other one I would try putting on a heat mat for a while to see if the extra heat would get something going. There wasn't much sun during this time period, and I got the seeds in the mail. I had ordered them off of Amazon.com. It came in a packet with 15 seeds, and I decided to put 7 in one and 8 in the other and see if out of the two conditions something would happen. So after I sowed these seeds, it was kind of messy. In retrospect, these containers are kind of deep, and I didn't have much potting mix left over that was sterilized or left over to sterilize, so I had this unpleasant compromise where I had tall containers with very little potting mix in them. But I figured I'll just do what I can with what I have at the time, because I would cause a further delay if I went out there to get potting mix and sterilize it and whatnot. And I knew if I didn't sterilize it, all sorts of creepy crawlies and parasites and fungal infections would take place for sure. So I decided to just go with it on this cloudy day, and it took a lot of manipulation, but I pushed them down at various depths, not too deep. Then I covered everything up, and I decided to use a dry microfiber cloth to kind of push down and soak out some of the water. I know it looks very wet, but it actually didn't seem like a lot of water at the time, especially not after I dried it out, as I'll show you later. So I know you're looking at this and probably thinking it's a lot more work than it should have been, and maybe I should have just planted them in pots, but I had tried that before in both in indoor and outdoor settings from maybe 2014, 2015 later on. And I think I tried this all the way until basically now. So I had attempts going on in 2016, 2017, and this was the 2017 attempt. Everything failed. So I'll show you towards the end of the video what happened and what grew. So this was another attempt. I wasn't very optimistic going into it, and this is the second type of video where I'm basically documenting admitted failure. It feels a little uncomfortable, I'll admit, and I typically don't show you any of the failures, and I haven't until now, but I decided, that last mango series that was a failure, a lot of people responded to that. So while it's not worth celebrating for sure, maybe people can learn something, and I'm always open to criticism and some input. I can't please everyone, and not everyone will agree in the comments, but if you're an expert in ginseng seeds and growing ginseng, maybe you can chime in the comment section, or go to my Facebook fan page for this YouTube channel. Look up Melvin Way's YouTube channel, and you'll be there. It's pretty easy to find, and like some of my posts. But otherwise, maybe you could tell me why these seeds are a turquoise color. Maybe there's some special treatment process that results in them just looking like that after they've been stratified. So ginseng is one of those fussy plant species that needs to have its seeds endure a certain period of cold for a certain amount of time before they can germinate. So most of these online vendors, I'm just going to assume that they did the right thing and that I didn't. And because I'm trying to grow these in San Diego County, California, that maybe these things just go wrong because it's the wrong climate. I always use the wrong soil, for example, wrong conditions. So here I'm just using, quick and dirty method to get out some of the water, and hopefully that won't compact the seeds too much, although those seeds are really, really hardy if you've ever handled them. So I got this dirty. I'll put them here and wash them in the laundry machine later. So these things are good to go. I'm just going to seal them up and put one on a heat mat, as I did with my other incubating series, most of which were in Ziploc bags, zipper bags, in 2017. I'll put this one on the second shelf of that glass table that's got the giant passion fruit vine going on, and I'll relegate it to the back. So maybe these seeds don't need a lot of sun, although one of the original commenters on one of my failed ginseng series from years back said he bought a bag of ginseng seeds and left them on his porch or something, and the sun was just beating on them, and within a few days they were all germinating. So he thinks maybe I just got bad seeds back then, but I've tried several different vendors and I've always failed. So this is on day 10, and it was starting to heat up. I think something happened at this point that I covered in my other series, though. Water heater in the closet that's locked normally got busted, and this towel got flooded, so the temperature soared to like 50 Celsius or whatever. Not sure if this happened during that time, but I had cleared it out and the weather was getting warmer finally, so I decided to put this behind my other pots. You can see these backup bags of seeds containing seedlings for Sweet Annie and California Goldenrod, Yerba Mansa, etc. So I decided to put this thermometer clock up there and keep track of the temperature. So it's actually much safer up here than it is on the heating mat. So on day 63, this ties in with the previous video of what I'm now making a playlist out of, plant growing failures. So you can see my mango pseudo germinated, and if you've seen the other video you know it died. So this is today. It's day 128. So it's been over 4 months and there's been disappointment. The reason both of these containers ended up over there is because I basically gave up on this series. I saw nothing in this one except maybe a little bit of a moss growing, and if you can identify this stuff and tell me, I'm IDing it wrong by saying it's moss, and go ahead, I'd be interested in learning that as well. So I don't know if that's sphagnum peat moss making a revival, just garden variety moss that flew in from the local environment. On the other side, because I placed that other container in the dark too, sort of a wet slime mold started growing. This one just has a little bit of whitish mold, wispy mold. But all this stuff is on the surface, so I'm going to dig in there with gloves and show you what happened, and dig up at least one seed from each to show you what they look like now. And this is important because you want to have your day of reckoning and evaluate your failures and see what happens. So the turquoise color is gone from that one at least, and let's see what's going on in here. So there's just mats and mats of this moss. Is this sphagnum peat moss or what? It's kind of interesting. Prevents soil erosion, I guess, but I'm not doing a series on growing sphagnum peat moss, that's for sure. So that's been more and more developed as the weeks and months went by, but I don't think anyone would watch a series on that. I'm going to show you one of the seeds as well. So basically the turquoise color is gone. So if you know what happened here and what went wrong, please let me know in the comments. Thanks.